I never thought a simple social media app would make me fear for my life. But here I am, sitting in the dark, phone turned off, wondering if they're watching me right now.
Hey, did you get a new follower on Snapchat today? Someone called your watcher?
No, why? Did you add them back?
Yeah, I thought it might be someone from college. They had our university as their location.
That was 3 weeks ago. A casual conversation with my roommate that I didn't think twice about. I should have been more careful. I should have known better than to add strangers online. But how was I supposed to know what would happen?
That's weird. Your watcher account sent me a snap.
I remember opening it, expecting some random meme or party invitation. Instead, it was a photo of me, walking across campus earlier that day. I was wearing my red hoodie, headphones on, completely unaware I was being photographed.
Hey, did you take a picture of me today?
No, why would I do that?
Someone just sent me a snap of myself from earlier. It's kind of creepy.
Maybe it's someone who has a crush on you? Secret admirer type thing?
I wanted to believe that. It was easier than admitting someone was following me. I blocked the account and tried to forget about it. 2 days later, I got a friend request from Always Watching. I declined it immediately.
They made another account? This is getting weird.
Just keep blocking them. They'll get bored eventually.
But they didn't get bored. The next day, I received a message from a different account. Why did you block me? And attached was another photo. This one was of me entering my apartment building. The timestamp showed it was from last night, around 11 p.m. When I came home from the library.
I think I should report this to campus security.
Definitely. This is stalking. Do you want me to come with you?
Campus security took my report, but they didn't seem overly concerned. They said it was probably just a prank. Someone from one of my classes having a laugh. They told me to be aware of my surroundings and report any suspicious activity. I left feeling more alone than when I arrived. That night I couldn't sleep. Every noise made me jump. Every shadow seemed to move. I kept checking my phone, half expecting to see another notification. Around 3 a.m., it finally came. A new Snapchat friend request. I can see you. I declined it with shaking hands. Seconds later, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Look out your window. I froze. My bedroom was on the second floor. There was no way someone could see in unless they were on a ladder or in the tree near my window. I stayed perfectly still, afraid that any movement would confirm my presence to whoever was watching. After what felt like hours, I gathered enough courage to inch toward my window. With trembling fingers, I pulled back the curtain, just enough to peek outside. The street was empty. No one standing under the streetlight. No car parked with someone watching. Nothing. I almost laughed with relief, until my phone buzzed again. The other window. My blood turned to ice. I lived in a corner apartment. There was another window in my room that faced the side of the building. A window I rarely looked out of because it just faced the brick wall of the neighboring building. There was a narrow alley between the structures, barely wide enough for a person to walk through. I didn't want to look. Every instinct told me not to. But I had to know. I crept across my room, each step feeling like I was walking to my doom. I reached for the curtain, held my breath, and pulled it back. A face stared back at me, so close to the glass that their breath fogged it. I couldn't make out features in the darkness, just the outline of a human head. I screamed and fell backward, scrambling away from the window.
Someone's outside my window. Call the police.
What? Are you serious?
I heard my roommate's footsteps rushing down the hall. By the time she reached my room and we looked back at the window, there was no one there. The police came, searched the alley, found nothing. They said it was impossible for someone to be at my second-floor window without a ladder, and there was no ladder found. They suggested I might have seen a reflection, or my imagination was getting the better of me due to stress. I knew what I saw. But I started to doubt myself. Maybe the stress was affecting me. Maybe I needed sleep. I decided to stay at a friend's place the next night, just to get away from my apartment. I didn't tell my friend the whole story. just that I was having trouble with the stalker and needed somewhere else to crash. He was understanding, set me up on his couch, and promised to keep the doors locked.
Don't worry, man. You're safe here. Nobody knows you're staying over.
I slept better that night, though I still woke up several times checking my phone. No new friend requests, no strange messages. By morning, I felt almost normal again. I thanked my friend and headed to my first class, thinking maybe the whole thing was over. During lunch, I opened Snapchat to send a message to my roommate. That's when I saw it. A new snap from an account called Found You. My hands shook as I opened it. It was a photo of me, sleeping on my friend's couch. From last night, I dropped my phone like it had burned me. How? How did they find me? How did they get into my friend's apartment? I called him immediately.
Did you let anyone into your apartment last night?
What? No, man. Door was locked all night. Why?
Check your Snapchat. Do you have a message from someone called Found You?
Hold on. No, nothing like that. What's going on?
I couldn't explain it. I went to campus security again, showed them the photo. This time, they took it more seriously. They suggested I file a police report, which I did. The officer asked if I had any enemies, anyone who might want to scare me. I couldn't think of anyone. That night, I stayed in a hotel. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I paid in cash. I even left my phone turned off until I was in the room. I felt safer with the deadbolt locked and the chain in place. I turned my phone on just long enough to check my messages and emails, then turned it off again. I slept fitfully, waking at every sound. The ice machine down the hall. Other guests returning to their rooms. The elevator dinging. Around 4 a.m., I heard a soft knock at my door. I froze, hoping I had imagined it. Then it came again. 3 gentle taps. I held my breath, staying perfectly still in the darkness. "I know you're in there," a voice whispered through the door. It was so soft I could barely hear it. "Let me in." I didn't move, didn't breathe. The digital clock on the nightstand cast a red glow across the room. 4:07 a.m. "I just want to talk," the voice continued. "Face to face, like friends do." I reached for my phone, intending to call the front desk, or 911, but as soon as I turned it on, a message appeared. "Don't call anyone. I'll know." How could they know I was turning on my phone? Were they watching me somehow? I scanned the room looking for hidden cameras, but saw nothing in the dim light. The knocking stopped. I heard footsteps moving away from my door. Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. My phone buzzed with a Snapchat notification. A new account. Never alone. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew I shouldn't, but I did. It was a video this time, shot through what looked like the peephole of my hotel room door. It showed me sitting on the bed looking at my phone. The timestamp was from just moments ago. I threw the phone across the room. This couldn't be happening. I grabbed my things, not bothering to pack properly, and ran to the door. I hesitated before opening it, pressing my eye to the peephole first. The hallway was empty. I unlocked the door, removed the chain, and stepped out, looking both ways. Nothing. No one. I ran to the elevator, repeatedly pressing the button. When it didn't come fast enough, I took the stairs, practically falling down them in my haste. The night clerk looked up in surprise as I burst into the lobby.
"Someone was at my door. They were filming me through the peephole. You need to call the police."
Sir, calm down. Are you sure about this?
"Yes, check the security cameras."
We reviewed the footage together. The hallway outside my room showed no one approaching my door during the time I specified, no one at all.
Sir, there's no one there. Are you sure you weren't having a nightmare?
I couldn't believe it. I showed her the video on my phone, but she just looked at me with pity.
That could have been filmed any time, sir. There's no way to prove when it was taken.
I left the hotel, not knowing where to go. It was still dark outside, the streets empty. I walked aimlessly, constantly looking over my shoulder. Eventually, I found myself at a 24-hour diner. I ordered coffee and sat in a booth where I could see both the entrance and the emergency exit. As dawn broke, I decided to go to the police station. I needed to show them everything, make them understand that this wasn't just internet harassment. This person was following me, watching me, somehow getting into places they shouldn't be able to access. The officer listened patiently as I showed him all the messages, photos, and the video. He took notes, asked questions, but I could tell he wasn't convinced.
We'll look into this, sir. In the meantime, I suggest you change your Snapchat username. Maybe even delete the app altogether and perhaps talk to someone about the stress you're under.
He thought I was paranoid. Maybe I was. Maybe this was all in my head. But the photos were real. The video was real. Someone was watching me. I decided to take his advice about one thing. I deleted Snapchat from my phone. Then I went further, deleting all my social media apps. I even considered getting a new phone number, but that seemed extreme. Instead, I blocked all unknown numbers. I returned to my apartment, exhausted. My roommate was concerned but relieved to see me.
Where have you been? I've been texting you all day.
I stayed at a hotel, then went to the police. It's still happening. The stalker found me at the hotel.
That's impossible. How would they know where you were?
I don't know, maybe they're tracking my phone somehow. I've deleted all my social media.
Good. That should help. And you should stay here tonight. I'll keep watch.
Her concern touched me. For the first time in days, I felt like someone believed me. I took a shower trying to wash away the fear and paranoia that clung to me like a second skin. When I emerged, my roommate had made dinner. We ate together, talking about normal things, and for a brief moment, life felt almost ordinary again. That night, I slept in my own bed, the door locked, a chair propped under the handle for good measure. I was so exhausted that I fell asleep almost immediately. I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing. It was a text message from my roommate. "There's someone in the apartment." I sat up, heart pounding. I could hear nothing beyond my door. No footsteps, no voices. Just silence.
Are you sure?
I texted back, afraid to make any noise. There was no response. I called her phone, hoping it was on silent. I heard it ringing from somewhere in the apartment. She wasn't answering. I got out of bed as quietly as possible and moved the chair from under my door handle. I had to check on her. I opened my door a crack and peered into the dark hallway. Nothing moved in the shadows. I crept toward her room, phone in hand, ready to call 911. Her door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open slowly. Her bed was empty. The covers were thrown back, as if she had left in a hurry. Her phone lay on the nightstand, still ringing with my call. A noise from the living room made me freeze. Soft footsteps. Someone was moving around out there.
Hello, is anyone there?
No response. Just more footsteps, coming closer now. I backed into my roommate's room, looking for a weapon, anything I could use to defend myself. I grabbed a heavy textbook from her desk and held it up, ready to swing. A shadow appeared in the doorway. A figure stood there, just watching me. I couldn't make out their face in the darkness.
Who are you? Where's my roommate?
The figure stepped forward into a patch of moonlight coming through the window. It was my roommate. Relief flooded through me.
You scared me to death. Why didn't you answer your phone?
I left it in here. I thought I heard something in the kitchen, so I went to check.
Did you send me a text saying there was someone in the apartment?
No, my phone's been in here the whole time.
I showed her the text. It had come from her number. She looked confused, then frightened.
I didn't send that. Someone must have spoofed my number.
We checked the entire apartment together. All the doors and windows were locked. No one else was there. We called the police, who came and found nothing suspicious. They suggested it might be a technical glitch or a prank. But I knew better. Whoever was watching me was escalating. They weren't just following me anymore. They were playing games, trying to frighten me, maybe even trying to lure me into danger. The next day I went to a tech store and bought a new phone with a new number. I didn't give the number to anyone except my roommate and my parents. I felt safer, more in control. That feeling lasted exactly 6 hours. I was walking back from campus when my new phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. New phone, same you. I'll always find you. I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, people flowing around me like I was a rock in a stream. How had they found my new number so quickly? Another text came through. Look up. Against my better judgment, I did. Across the street, someone was standing in the shadow of a building entrance. They were holding up a phone pointed at me. As soon as I spotted them, they lowered the phone and stepped back into the darkness. I ran, sprinted all the way back to my apartment, not S, topping until I was inside with the door locked behind me. My roommate wasn't home. I was alone. My phone buzzed again. Running only makes this more fun. I turned off the phone, unplugged the Wi-Fi router, closed all the curtains. I sat in the darkness of my living room, trying to think. Who could be doing this? Why me? What did they want? The sound of a key in the lock made me jump. The door opened, and my roommate walked in.
Why are you sitting in the dark?
They found my new number. They were watching me on the street.
Did you see who it was?
No, just someone across the street. They were taking pictures of me.
This has gone too far. You need to go somewhere they can't find you. Maybe stay with your parents for a while?
It seemed like the only option. I packed a bag, booked a flight for the next morning, and tried to get through one more night. I didn't sleep. Every sound made me tense. Every shadow seemed to move. Morning finally came. My roommate drove me to the airport, constantly checking the rearview mirror to make sure we weren't being followed.
Call me when you land, okay? And be careful.
I will. Thanks for believing me.
I boarded the plane, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. For 5 hours, I would be unreachable. No one could track me, photograph me, or send me messages. It was the safest I had felt in weeks. When we landed, I turned on my phone. There were several messages from my parents saying they were waiting at arrivals, and one from an unknown number. Enjoy your flight. I'm waiting for you. I froze in the aisle of the plane, people pushing past me to disembark. They had followed me. Somehow they knew where I was going. I considered not leaving the plane, asking to be put on the next flight back. But where would I go? They would just follow me there too. I walked through the terminal in a daze, scanning every face, looking for someone watching me. Everyone seemed suspicious. The man typing on his phone, the woman taking a selfie, the security guard speaking into his radio. I spotted my parents waiting beyond security. The sight of them calmed me slightly. I hurried toward them, embracing them both. For the next week, I stayed at my parents' house. I told them everything, showed them the messages and photos. They were concerned, suggested I see a therapist. Maybe I was suffering from paranoia or some kind of breakdown. I agreed to go, if only to prove to them that I wasn't imagining things. The therapist listened without judgment. She said that even if this was all real, the stalker was feeding off my fear. The more frightened I became, the more power I gave them. I tried to take her advice. I got a new phone again, but this time, I didn't give the number to anyone, not even my parents. I used their landline to make necessary calls. I stayed off the internet completely. I started to feel normal again. Safe. Until I found the envelope on my bed. Plain white. No markings. Inside was a single photograph. Me, sitting in the therapist's office, taken through the window from outside. And a note. You can't hide from me. We're connected now, forever. I realized then that this would never end. Whoever was watching me would always find me, always be one step ahead. The only question that remains is, when will they decide that watching isn't enough anymore?